A wealthy man hired a nurse to care for his son, who was in a vegetative state. But when she was left alone with the boy, what she saw left her horrified. Anna adjusted the collar of her crisp white uniform as she climbed the steps of the Grand Whitmore estate. It was her first day on the job, and she had been recommended as a highly qualified professional to a very prestigious and wealthy family. Her task was to care for a boy in a vegetative state, a condition where a person is fully aware but unable to move. Anna knew she had to be the best nurse possible for her young patient. Upon entering the house, Anna was greeted by David Whitmore, the boy's father, a man of medium height with neatly combed grey hair. He was very courteous and welcomed her with a wide smile. "Anna, I hope you'll feel at home here," he said warmly. "Thank you, Mr. Whitmore. I'll do everything I can," Anna replied, staying composed as her eyes scanned the elegant surroundings. David showed her around the house until they were interrupted by the arrival of a woman. The man introduced her as Laura, his wife and the boy's stepmother. She was a woman with striking features and wavy chestnut hair, and to Anna, she appeared somewhat arrogant. Her entrance had been abrupt, and she barely acknowledged Anna's presence. "We need to talk about Ben's medication. His condition seems to be worsening," Laura said matter-of-factly. "I want to take him to a doctor my family trusts," she added, though she didn't seem particularly surprised about the boy's decline. David shook his head. "The doctor said the prescribed treatment is working. It's the best care available in the country," he replied firmly. Watching their exchange, Anna realized she had stepped into the middle of a tense family dynamic. "I'm giving my son the best treatment available. You know how serious his condition is," David continued, but Laura's discontent was evident. "Why do you never listen to me? You always take Ben's mother's side over mine," she complained, before turning and walking away. Anna looked at David and spoke gently. "The medications you showed me for his treatment, I've read about them. They're effective and not harmful. I assure you I'll do everything I can to take good care of your son," she said with an encouraging look. David smiled. "Excellent. I'm counting on you. My wife and I are exhausted," he said as he led her down the hallway to the boys' room. As soon as Anna began her work, David left her alone with his son. She checked the medications and adjusted Ben's position in bed. He seemed so fragile and small, surrounded by tubes and machines. "Poor boy. I just want to help you," she thought as she continued caring for him. Anna was a deeply sensitive person. Just seeing him brought tears to her eyes. She watched Ben lying motionless, surrounded by softly humming equipment, monitoring every aspect of his life. Anna cautiously moved closer, studying him. His childlike face looked peaceful, but in the corners of his closed eyes, she sensed a sadness that hinted at a deep inner struggle. As Anna began to settle into the room, she saw something that made her freeze. Ben moved his finger. He looked directly at her with wide eyes. His medical condition should not have allowed such a movement, not even involuntarily. Anna's heart raced. It seemed like the boy was trying to communicate. She leaned in and whispered, "Ben, if you can understand me, give me another sign." Silence returned. Then, like the gentle rustle of a falling leaf, his fingers twitched again. "I'll go get your family," she said, turning to run, but Ben's eyes widened with fear. The monitors tracking his vital signs started to sound alarms as soon as she mentioned his family. Anna stopped abruptly. "If you don't want me to tell them, move your finger twice." "I need to understand," she asked, hoping she was wrong. To her sorrow, Ben did exactly that. He moved his finger twice, clearly indicating fear of his family. Anna went to the door, peeking into the hallway to make sure no one could hear her. Then she returned to Ben. "Don't worry, Ben. I'm here with you. I'll help you," she whispered, as if making a quiet promise in the tense air of the room. Whatever was happening in this house, Anna was determined to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. Over the following days, Anna watched over Ben's care with utmost attention. looking for any sign of improvement or decline. One afternoon, while sorting through the medications, something unusual caught her eye. It was a small, unlabeled bottle, partially hidden behind other clearly marked medications. Inside was a clear liquid visible through the glass. "What is this?" she muttered under her breath, her suspicions growing. As she walked through the hallway with the bottle in hand, Laura spotted her through a partially open door. The door swung open and Laura entered the room, her face tense. "Anna, what is that in your hand?" she asked, eyes fixed on the bottle. Anna instinctively hid the bottle behind her back. "Nothing. I was just checking the medications," she answered, trying to remain calm. "Put it back," Laura snapped, then quickly left the room. After she was gone, Anna knew she had to investigate the bottle further. She tucked it into her pocket and resumed caring for Ben, though her mind was far away. Why had Laura reacted so strongly about the bottle? Why was Ben afraid of them? Who exactly was he afraid of? That night, after Ben had fallen asleep, Anna decided to conduct a more thorough search of the room. She checked drawers and cabinets, looking for anything unusual. In a small bag at the bottom of a wardrobe, she found several empty boxes of the same medicine from the mysterious bottle. Anna's heart pounded. "This can't be a coincidence," she whispered. Suddenly, she heard footsteps in the hallway and quickly hid the bag again. Anna kept a close eye on Ben, feeling the weight of responsibility grow heavier on her shoulders. Later, the door opened again, but this time it wasn't David or Laura. A woman Anna hadn't seen before entered the room. She had sharp features and an intense gaze, radiating strength and hidden desperation. The woman barely acknowledged Anna. Her attention was completely fixed on Ben. "How is he? Any change since yesterday?" she asked with a voice full of anxiety and hope. "By the way, I'm Catherine, Ben's mother," she introduced herself, not taking her eyes off her son. Still recovering from the woman's sudden appearance, Anna replied quickly, No changes," while watching Catherine gently touch her son's hand. Ben hadn't given Anna any more signs, and she began to wonder if maybe she had imagined it all. Were those movements involuntary? Had she been wrong to suspect the family? Before they could continue their conversation, Laura entered the room. Her eyes immediately narrowed at the sight of Catherine sitting by Ben's bed. "You're here again without notice, Catherine. That's not good for Ben," she said with barely concealed hostility. Catherine turned to face her, furious. "I'm his mother. Of course I care. And by the way, I don't need permission to see my own son," she snapped. "And why is it that every time I visit, he seems worse?" she added pointedly. Laura was clearly offended. "I'm doing everything I can. David trusts me to take care of our boy." She emphasized the word "our," clearly provoking Catherine. "Maybe it's your visits that are making things worse," Laura added. Seeing the situation escalate, Anna decided to intervene. "Maybe we should all sit down and calmly discuss this elsewhere. Ben needs peace and quiet," she suggested, trying to ease the tension. Catherine and Laura exchanged angry glances before Catherine turned to Anna sharply. "You're the new one, right? You know nothing about my son or what's best for our family," she said with contempt, judging the nurse. Before Anna could respond, Laura interrupted coldly. "She's new. Don't drag her into our issues." Catherine sighed and shook her head. "You know what I think? I think no nurse can solve this problem," she said bitterly. The two women eventually left the room, still arguing quietly. Anna looked back at Ben, who remained unresponsive to the storm around him. Her sense of duty grew stronger. She remembered the unlabeled bottles and knew she had to get to the bottom of it. That night, when the house had fallen into silence, she searched again, this time more carefully. In one of the bathroom drawers, hidden beneath a stack of towels, she found another bottle with unknown contents. This one was different. Its liquid was thick and dark green. "This drug looks strange," she muttered, feeling like she had found something important. Armed with more evidence, Anna knew the next step would be crucial. When her shift ended, she didn't want to leave Ben. Instead, she lay on the bed beside his, staying close. Soon David entered the room with a worried look, checking on his son during the night. "How is he? Any changes?" he asked, as if checking to see if Ben was still breathing. His face was full of fear. Anna could see he genuinely loved his son by the way he worried for him, but she couldn't share what she had found. Not yet. She wasn't sure whom she could trust. So she simply replied, "No, David. No changes. But I still hope we'll see improvement." She quickly closed her notebook. David gave her a sad smile. "Thank you. Your dedication means a lot to us," he said before quietly leaving the room, leaving Anna alone with her thoughts and doubts. Anna looked at her notebook, then at Ben, who had once again slipped into sleep. The truth was hidden somewhere, in the dosages, the medications, and the family's secrets. She was certain of it. The next morning, Anna began her shift feeling increasingly on edge, keeping a constant watch on Ben's condition, which remained unchanged. But that stillness now felt more and more artificial. A few minutes after she resumed her duties, Laura entered the room carrying a tray. On it sat a new bottle of medication. "Good morning, Anna. Here's the new medication the doctor prescribed," she said, with an odd nonchalance. "We're hoping this one will really help." Anna watched as Laura began preparing the dose. Her instincts screamed that something was off. The sudden appearance of this new drug only deepened her suspicion. "Would you mind showing me the prescription so I can update Ben's medical records?" Anna asked, keeping her tone calm and professional. Laura hesitated for a moment, her expression growing unsure. "Of course, I'll go get it," she replied, then quickly left the room. As soon as Laura was gone, Anna rushed to Ben's side to check on him. When Laura returned, surprisingly, she had no paperwork. "I couldn't find the prescription, but I assure you the doctor really did prescribe it," she said hurriedly, clearly nervous. Anna knew she was lying. "It would be best if we verified the doctor's prescription just to be cautious," Anna insisted. Laura flushed with anger. "Do you think I'm doing something wrong? This medication came from the doctor. I just want him to get better. If you keep doubting my honesty, you won't be able to work here anymore," she snapped. "All I want is for Ben to recover." Anna watched as the medication was administered. Minutes later, Ben began showing signs of discomfort. His face contorted slightly, and his breathing became more labored. Anna immediately began monitoring his vital signs. The equipment showed subtle but concerning changes. "I won't let her administer anything else to Ben without a doctor's confirmation," Anna muttered to herself, deeply alarmed. She decided to take even stricter control and started writing down every minor detail in her notebook. She didn't want to overlook anything. As the minutes passed, Anna felt an urgent need to act. "I want to speak with the doctor. I want to meet with him as soon as possible," she said out loud, repeating Laura's own words about contacting the physician. It was a risky decision, but a necessary one to protect Ben. Laura, still in the room, tried to calm Anna. "Anna, you're new here. Medical decisions are complicated, and they're made with Ben's best interests in mind," she said, trying to persuade her. But Anna was resolute. "Ben is my top priority. I was hired to care for him, and if something isn't right, I'll do everything I can to fix it. I want to talk to this doctor," she insisted, feeling a growing sense of responsibility for the boy's life. Laura left the room saying she would call the doctor. Anna used the opportunity to review her notes again. After Laura left, the tension in Ben's room only grew stronger. Anna continued watching his monitors closely. She hoped she would never need to use her records as evidence, but she knew they might be vital. Soon, Laura returned, her face tight and her voice carefully composed. "Here's his number, Dr. Reynolds," she said, handing Anna a small scrap of paper. "You can confirm for yourself that everything is in order." Anna took the note with trembling hands, nodded in thanks, and immediately called the number. Her voice was steady but polite, as she requested that doctor. "Reynolds, come by as soon as possible to check on Ben." While waiting for the doctor, Anna kept a close eye on Ben's condition. Before long, Dr. Reynolds arrived. Anna felt a surge of relief at finally seeing a professional who might offer clarity. He was a middle-aged man, neatly dressed in a spotless white coat, his demeanor calm and professional. After a brief introduction, he began thoroughly examining Ben, while Anna observed his every move. When the examination was done, Anna showed him the medication Laura had administered, the one after which the monitors began signaling alerts. The doctor turned to her with a calm expression. "I assure you, this is a prescribed medication appropriate for his condition. There is no mistake in the treatment. These temporary changes in his vitals are typical reactions after administering drugs like this," he said with practiced ease, closing his medical case with a sharp click before glancing at Laura. Anna felt a strange mix of relief and frustration. Relief that nothing overtly illegal seemed to have happened, but frustration because something still didn't add up. "Thank you, doctor. I appreciate you coming to check," she said, doing her best to stay composed. Once Dr. Reynolds and Laura had left the room, Anna sat by Ben's bedside, reflecting on everything that had occurred. The room had dimmed with the late afternoon light, and only the rhythmic hum of the medical machines filled the silence. Her thoughts spun around every suspicious detail: the unmarked medications, the subtle symptoms, Ben's fear, Laura's behavior. She knew she had to tread carefully, but every instinct told her something serious was hidden in this house. Before she could dive deeper into her thoughts, Ben suddenly stirred. Anna immediately focused on him. Ben moved his fingers again. His eyes opened slightly. In them, there was a clarity she hadn't seen before. Anna quickly moved closer. "Ben, can you hear me?" she whispered, afraid to raise her voice. To her astonishment, the boy slowly nodded. His lips moved faintly, as if he were trying to say something. "Ben, do you want to say something? I'm here. I'll help you," she said, leaning in. He tried again, and in a soft, nearly inaudible voice, he whispered, "Police." Anna froze. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. The boy, believed to be in a vegetative state, was asking her to call the police. Ben was breathing weakly, but the fear in his eyes was unmistakable. This couldn't be a coincidence. Anna realized then he knew something he was terrified of. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll call the police." Just then, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Quickly hiding her phone in her pocket, she tried to look normal, as though nothing had happened. Laura entered again, this time holding a cup of tea. "How's Ben doing?" she asked casually, not suspecting anything unusual. Anna glanced at Ben, who had once again closed his eyes. "No changes," she replied flatly, masking her emotions. Laura sat on a chair near the door, slowly sipping her tea, her eyes fixed on Ben. Anna knew she had to keep her at a distance, at least until she could get to the bottom of everything. She knew calling the police could be a turning point, but first she had to make sure no one knew, not yet. That night, once the house was quiet again, Anna tried calling the police. Her hands were shaking, but she knew that hesitation could cost Ben his life. She had to protect him, no matter what. Taking a deep breath, she dialed the emergency number. When the operator answered, Anna explained the situation quickly but clearly. "Hello? I'm a nurse at the Whitmore residence. The child I'm caring for, believed to be in a vegetative state, is showing signs of consciousness and has asked me to call the police. I suspect something may be seriously wrong. Please send someone as soon as possible." The operator asked a few follow-up questions, and Anna responded carefully, making sure not to reveal too much in case anyone in the house overheard. They assured her that a unit would be dispatched shortly. Anna hid her phone and returned to Ben's bedside. He was once again still, but his earlier awakening and the terror in his eyes had left a lasting impact on her. She sat there, tense, waiting. Time passed slowly. Eventually, she heard a soft knock at the front door. Anna went to open it, finding 2 police officers standing there. "Come in, please," she whispered, careful not to draw attention. She quietly led them to Ben's room and explained everything she had seen and suspected. One officer approached the boy, gently observing him, while the other began asking Anna questions. "When did you first notice Ben trying to communicate with you?" he asked. "A few days ago, but today was the first time he clearly asked for the police," Anna said, glancing nervously at the boy, who now seemed unconscious again. "What exactly did he say?" the officer continued. "He said, 'Police,' that's all." "He didn't have the strength to say more," she replied, her voice filled with worry. The officers exchanged looks, then began inspecting the room. One of them noticed the suspicious medication bottles Anna had set aside. She told them everything about the unmarked bottles, the strange symptoms after they were administered, and how Laura had reacted aggressively when questioned. "We'll look into this," one officer said, taking a bottle for analysis. Just then, David walked into the room, visibly startled by the presence of law enforcement. "What's going on? Why are you here?" he asked, his voice trembling, eyes filled with confusion. Gathering all her courage, Anna answered, "Ben asked for the police. I believe something's wrong. I found questionable medications that may have worsened his condition." David froze. His face went pale. "That can't be true. I trust the doctor who prescribed everything," he said, but there was uncertainty in his tone. As David struggled to process what was happening, the officers continued their investigation. Anna could feel the tension in the room growing by the second. Suddenly, footsteps echoed in the hallway. It was Laura. When she saw the police in the room, her face twisted with anger. "What are you doing in here?" she shouted. "Why did you bring the police into our home?" Anna stood firm. "Ben asked for help. Something's not right, and we all deserve to know the truth." Laura glared at her, then at the officers. "That's ridiculous. Ben couldn't possibly ask for help. He can't even speak," she shouted, but her voice shook with emotion. One of the officers stepped toward her. "We need to ask you a few questions. We need to understand everything that's going on." Laura stepped back slowly, her face flushed, her breathing uneven. Anna watched as fear began to spread across the woman's expression. Something told her Laura knew exactly what was at stake. "Fine," Laura said through gritted teeth. "Ask what you want," she muttered, trying to maintain control, but her voice was cracking. The officer continued, "How long has Ben been in this condition? And who in the household is responsible for making medical decisions?" Laura adjusted her hair nervously, exhaled, and replied, "Ben's been like this for about a year, after his accident. I'm his stepmother, but all the decisions are made by my husband David in consultation with the doctors. I just try to help any way I can." Her voice sounded composed, but Anna sensed something hollow behind the words. "You say you only help," the officer continued, but Anna mentioned suspicious medications that were not prescribed. "What can you tell us about that?" Laura frowned, clearly struggling to come up with a response. "Those medications, I was just following the doctor's advice. We all want Ben to get better, don't we? Maybe I made a mistake. I'm not a doctor, but I never meant to do any harm," she said hastily, her voice rising with each sentence. Anna watched closely. Laura was clearly shaken, and the more she spoke, the more her story began to unravel. The officers continued questioning, while David stood silently in the corner, visibly stunned. At that moment, Ben stirred again in bed. Anna rushed to his side. "Ben, can you say something again?" she whispered, hopeful. This time his eyes opened wider, and in a barely audible whisper he said, "Dad, stepmom, don't trust." His words froze everyone in the room. Anna felt chills down her spine. Laura spun toward the boy, horror spreading across her face. "What are you saying, Ben? That's not true!" she yelled, trying to move toward him, but the officer stopped her instantly. "Ma'am, please step back," he ordered firmly. David had gone white. "What do you mean, Ben?" he asked, voice shaking with disbelief and pain. But Ben said nothing more, his eyes closing once again, his body relaxing. Yet Those few words were enough to shatter whatever trust remained in the room. The officers turned to David with more questions, and soon the truth began to unfold. David admitted he had no knowledge of some of the medications Laura had given Ben. His confusion and shock were evident. Laura grew more nervous. "This is all a mistake. I was just trying to help. That's all," she shouted, but her protests were becoming less convincing with every word. One of the officers raised his hand to silence her. "We'll be conducting a full analysis of the medications. Until then, no one is leaving this house," he said. The tension in the room was palpable. Anna knew the truth was close, but many questions remained. Her focus, however, remained clear: protect Ben at all costs. Laura, realizing her control was slipping, grew more agitated. She stepped toward the door, casting a defiant glare at everyone. "You're all making a mistake. I love Ben. I would never hurt him," she said, but her voice was brittle. Anna no longer had any doubt. Ben had been right to warn her not to trust Laura. Laura stood by the door, eyes cold, defiant. The officers moved quickly. One positioned himself to block her exit, while the other resumed questioning David. Anna stayed close to Ben, still feeling that the danger hadn't passed. "You're not going anywhere," the officer said to Laura, firmly planting himself between her and the door. Laura, realizing the truth was coming out, took a deep breath and sat down, burying her face in her hands. Her composure was crumbling. The questioning continued. Her answers became fragmented and desperate. "Honey, you understand I was just trying to help. I did it for Ben," she cried out toward David, but his eyes were full of doubt. David looked at her, visibly shaken. "I trusted you. Why didn't you tell me about these medications? Why did you act behind my back?" he asked, devastated. Laura bit her lip, unable to respond. Just then, one of the officers returned with preliminary test results of the drugs. "We've tested the medication you gave the boy. It's a powerful substance not suitable for his condition," the officer stated, looking at Laura sternly. She went pale. Her voice broke as she attempted one final excuse. I didn't know. They gave it to me at the pharmacy. I thought it would help." But the officer didn't flinch. "You should have consulted a licensed physician. Instead, you put this child at serious risk. We're placing you under arrest pending further investigation." The officers approached her and began escorting her out. She didn't resist. The hopelessness on her face said it all. She turned back once toward David. "I didn't want it to end like this. I just wanted to help," she mumbled as the police took her from the room. David stood frozen, paralyzed by everything that had happened. He stared at the door through which they'd taken his wife, then turned to look at Ben. His eyes welled up with tears. Anna stepped closer. "We'll get to the bottom of this. The most important thing is that Ben is alive, and now we can finally help him recover," she said softly, trying to comfort him. David nodded silently, unable to speak. In the hours that followed, the house became a scene of intense activity. Officers collected evidence, questioned everyone involved, and arranged for medical evaluations. Ben was taken to the hospital for a full assessment, ensuring his condition was stable. Anna stayed by his side the entire time. Despite the weight of what had happened, she felt a deep sense of relief. Ben was safe, and his warning had helped expose a terrible truth. After Laura was taken from the house, the case took an unexpected turn. Anna knew the situation was more complex than it initially seemed, but she couldn't have imagined just how deep the conspiracy ran. The police began a thorough investigation, and what they uncovered was staggering. The next day, David was called to the police station for questioning. When he returned home, he looked pale, his hands trembling. "Anna," he said, collapsing into a chair, "it's worse than we thought." He went on to tell her what the police had discovered, that Laura, Catherine, and even Dr. Reynolds were involved in a scheme. They had been deliberately slowing Ben's recovery to receive a massive insurance payout scheduled to be released after 1 full year in his condition. Anna froze, a chill settling deep inside her chest. Suddenly, everything made sense. The strange medication, Ben's steady decline, the constant tension in the household. It had all been part of a deliberate plan. Laura, Catherine, and even the doctor had played a dangerous game with Ben's life for the sake of financial gain. The investigation continued, and more details emerged. Dr. Reynolds, who Anna had initially believed to be a competent professional, turned out not to be a doctor at all. He was a fraud, hired by Laura to pose as a physician, maintain a false diagnosis, and administer carefully calculated treatments that would keep Ben alive. But just barely. It was later revealed that Reynolds didn't even have a medical license. Everything he did was under Laura's instruction. Catherine, Ben's biological mother, was not who she pretended to be either. Despite her emotional visits, she had never truly cared for her son. Her concern had been a facade. In truth, she had distanced herself from Ben long ago and only maintained contact to remain eligible for a portion of the insurance payout promised upon his eventual death. Her supposed concern for his condition was a performance. During the investigation, it was revealed that she and Laura had agreed to prolong Ben's suffering with unnecessary medication, ensuring he wouldn't die too soon. The insurance would only pay out after 12 months of a sustained vegetative state. David was devastated. He had no idea that the people he trusted, the women closest to his son, had been orchestrating a slow and deliberate attempt to harm him. When the truth finally surfaced, the entire group was arrested. The police presented undeniable evidence of their involvement: forged prescriptions, falsified medical records, secret payments to Reynolds, and written plans that outlined the timeline of Ben's condition and the insurance payout date. Documents found in the house showed that the conspiracy had been planned for months, every detail executed with cruel precision. Laura and Catherine had systematically worsened Ben's health by injecting him with drugs that weakened his nervous system and kept him in a near unconscious state. In court, shocking testimonies were presented. David, broken and filled with guilt, took the stand. His words were full of pain. "I never imagined that the people I loved, the ones I relied on to help care for my son, could be capable of such evil. They used my boy for money. He suffered, and I didn't see it. I didn't protect him." Anna also testified. She spoke of how Ben had tried to communicate with her, of how he had whispered the word police, and of how she discovered the strange medications that began to unravel the conspiracy. She described every suspicious detail she witnessed and how she finally put it all together thanks to Ben's bravery. "He saved himself. He trusted me just enough to tell me the truth," she said in court, her voice steady but emotional. The trial lasted for several months, and in the end, justice was served. Laura and Catherine were found guilty of gross negligence, abuse, and attempted fraud. Dr. Reynolds, or rather, the man pretending to be him, was also convicted of medical fraud and reckless endangerment of a minor. Laura was sentenced to 15 years in prison for her central role in the conspiracy and the damage she inflicted on Ben. Catherine received 10 years for her involvement and for putting financial gain above her child's life. The fake doctor was sentenced to 12 years for his illegal practice and direct role in Ben's suffering. After the trial, Ben's condition began to improve. He was transferred to a reputable children's hospital where a new team of doctors started working on a recovery plan. Thanks to Anna's timely intervention and the actions that followed, Ben avoided the worst possible outcome. David, now free from the manipulation of Laura and Catherine, dedicated himself fully to his son's recovery. He no longer relied on others blindly. Every step of Ben's treatment was now under his watchful care. Anna stayed close to them, helping with Ben's day-to-day needs and making sure he received the best possible support. Slowly but surely, Ben began to heal. His condition stabilized and his awareness improved. He had a long road ahead, but he was no longer alone. Surrounded by people who truly cared, he was finally given the chance to fight for a new life. The legal battle may have ended with a sentence, but for Ben and his father it was only the beginning. Together, They looked toward the future with cautious hope, finally free from the shadows that had once surrounded their home. One day, when Anna visited Ben in the hospital, she found him sitting up in bed with a small, peaceful smile on his face. His eyes were clear, and the fear that had once haunted them was gone. "Thank you," Ben said quietly as Anna approached. His voice was weak, but the gratitude in it was unmistakable. Anna smiled back, deeply moved, knowing she had done the right thing, and that this boy, against all odds, now had a second chance at life. Thank you for listening to this story. Share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this video with your friends and loved ones. It motivates us to keep creating new stories every day. Don't miss the next incredible story, coming soon to your screen. You can also browse our full library of stories in the description below. See you next time.